Are they overblown, a one-time thing, or are they a harbinger of more to come and higher costs for businesses? Let's ask Doug Holtz-Eakin. He's president of the American Action Forum, and Christian Dorsey. He's director of external communications at the Economic Policy Institute. Guys, good to see you. Douglas, let me start with you. What do you make of these announcements? Are one-time accounting charge now that they've got to take into account the legislation, or should we expect even higher costs down the road? Oh,
I think the bill is basically bad news for American business. Its biggest problem is it doesn't solve what was their biggest problem, the rising cost of health care. As a result, they're going to have ongoing stresses in covering their employees. The bill's got lots of taxes and fees for industry. Those will show up in bottom lines and make things more difficult. It's got some very important indirect impacts by taxing net investment income.
You didn't know there was a 20-second rule, did you? That's what the buzzer was.
I didn't know there's a 20-second rule.
Christian, now you know there's a 20-second rule. What's your response?
Well, this is a one-time write-down charge for these large companies who, quite frankly, were enjoying a tax loophole. And this just closes a tax loophole, and they're paying now their fair share. So this is not anything for anyone to be overly concerned about in terms of the long-term costs for businesses with health care. And on balance, the health reform bill is very good for businesses, large and small.
Doug says it doesn't actually help lower their costs. What do you say to that?
Oh, it absolutely does help lower their costs, especially for small businesses. Providing generous tax credits, 35% initially, up to 50% for the smallest firms. It now gives those firms an opportunity to compete for the best workers because they can attract employees who have hitherto been concerned about not having had access to health care.
Doug, what about the big businesses, though? They don't get any help, right?
And the small businesses only get temporary help. So you got to get away from this idea this is a tax loophole. This was designed by Congress to keep private retirees in their existing drug coverage. It was tuned to just keep them there. Now there's going to be a big incentive to put them on the government program, disrupt their retiree health care coverage.
Hey, Doug, Christian, actually, let me ask you, what do you make of Henry Waxman now announcing that he wants all these companies that have announced these write-downs, they're going to have to testify in front of Congress because he thinks the timing of the announcements was politically motivated?
Well, I think there's great skepticism there, and I think Chairman Waxman is right on the money. In a few weeks, he's going to have these folks into Congress to actually examine their books and look at the write-offs to see whether or not the issue is as large as they are projecting it to be. You'd certainly have to find it a little curious that right after reform, we'd have these companies coming out with these major accounting changes.
You don't take into account that the Financial Accounting Standard Board says you have to actually take write-downs as soon as the legislation is written, Christian?
I certainly think that there are going to be write-downs. I think Chairman Waxman is right to inquire as to the magnitude to make sure that fully what is being reported is accurate. So I'll trust, but I also want to verify.
Doug?
Look, they have to do this. Those are the accounting rules. The Congress did this to them. It got rid of 28% of their deductibility. It costs them money now and in the future. They've got to book it. They have no choice.
Christian, Doug, thank you so much. You want to go ahead, Christian. You get the last word. You keep shaking your head there.
No, again, it's allowing, it's no longer allowing companies to take full advantage of the deductibility. It's taking away the 20%.
Congress did this in the drug bill deliberately to keep them in this coverage.
They didn't do it deliberately. They didn't do it deliberately.
Yes, they did. I was at the CBO. They spent days designing this. I was there when the drug bill was passed. This was deliberate. It was an important part of keeping people on the drug coverage.
It was deliberately flawed. And this is certainly something that is fair and equitable in terms of the tax distribution.
But the people will now lose their coverage.